Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Rage Carrie 2, starring Emily Burgle, Jason London, Dylan Bruno, J. Smith Cameron, and Amy Irving, directed by Kate Shea. Now, why am I doing this? I don't know, because it's connected to the Carrie series. So let's get into the movie. We open with some woman painting and says something like, "Stay away from my daughter," which is an odd opener as the daughter Rachel comes in and puts red paint on Rachel's face as the authorities come in and she closes the doors with her telekinetic powers. And as this is done, much worse than the original, as it just jumps in right away, which is an odd choice. Rachel, as an adult, played by Emily Burgle, lives with an abusive stepmother, Barbara Lang, played by J. Smith Cameron, as she goes to high school with someone who hangs out with Lisa, who's played by Mina Suvari, who's is surprisingly hanging out with the Carrie White in this movie. And what the fuck is she doing like Eddie K. Thomas, who were both in American Pie and its sequels? And it seems like the bullies in this movie is the perverted high school boys who stare at the as this is a feminist movie, which I don't mind every once in a while. It just depends on how much it's well done. It's poorly played here, I'll say. Lisa walks to the top of the roof and commits suicide by walking to the edge of the and bumping into a car, and Sue Snell, returned by Amy Irving, comes back to Rachel away to back Rachel away. And the dumbest part is the guy with the video camera comes up and the dead body and says, "Whose car is this?" Which is such terrible timing. Like, really, with that? Rachel talks with Sue, and as she wasn't crying, and one of the guys who had sexual intercourse with Lisa is guilty because she had the lowest score for sex ad. And after looking at the ratings, I get if I get it. This movie sucks ass. Rachel works at a photo hut, and someone goes there to grab Lisa's pictures, and another high school student, Jesse Ryan, played by Jason London, is with the other student, and a sheriff comes in to question Rachel and Sue. And this story is very fucking thin, as Sue thinks about what she did to Carrie White all those years ago, and sometimes we get these shots which is completely red or black and white, and as the choices in this movie drove me absolutely fucking crazy. Rachel's dog Walter runs out of the street and gets killed by a truck, and Rachel goes after him, and as it's too late, and Jesse was there at the right time to drive them to the animal hospital and have to go to a diner together. And this movie is all over the place. Like, I can't connect with any of these characters either, as the performances are terrible. Jesse drives Rachel home, and as she goes to sleep and has a nightmare about Lisa's suicide, Rachel goes to school and sees Sue as she explains what happened to her in high school all those years ago, and all of a sudden brings up not just losing Lisa, but losing her mother when she was a baby, as she confronts the guy who had sexual intercourse with Lisa and tells him she knows what he did to Lisa, and Jesse asks Rachel out as Arnie, who's played by Eddie K. Thomas, and the raper, whom I'm guessing is named Eric, is suspended from school. And the choices by this director is very poor, as Rachel gets harassed by Eric with a Donald Duck voice. What's your favorite scary movie? And I'm like, next thing you know, she uses telekinetic powers. She calls the cops and gets threatened by the jocks. Next day, at school, Jesse asks what happened to Rachel the night before, and she's afraid of the jocks picking on her as he's with them, and asks her out again to be safe. And Jesse talks with Mark as he's protecting Eric despite he's being accused of rape. And Sue talks with Rachel as she breaks a snow globe and leaves the office. And these scenes are terrible written and terribly acted and terribly directed by this director, as this movie is truly bad. Rachel confesses she's never had sexual intercourse and wants to make it special, while Sue talks with Mrs. Lang while at the mental hospital and asks about her father, which happens to be Ralph White, who married Carrie White, while burning in hell. And does this make any sense? Hell to the motherfucking no. Because that's not how it happened in the original movie. As this is becoming the worst movie ever, like Dark Phoenix, the Child's Play remake, and Screamers, for fuck's sakes. Eric's father tries to fight off the lawsuit, and the judge helps out Eric's father, which is a terrible scene as he raped a 16-year-old girl and played a game out of it at the age of 18, which is a crime, and it makes no goddamn sense. Mark apologizes to Jesse, and Rachel gets encountered by a friend of head bitch, Tracy. And I think I know where this is going. First of all, they're trying to humiliate them at the same place at the same time, which is done in high school so fucking often. It's not funny. Second of all, Tracy's friends stole lipstick from the mall where they're at the same time. And third of all, it's all a fucking trap. Don't fall for it. It's a cliche. There's a reason I don't watch films like shit like this anymore. About shit like this anymore, as it all happened to end after Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan back in 2004. And there's so many fucking problems with it in general, and it's cliched to death. It's not funny. Rachel comes home and gets slapped by her abusive father, and that's not a way to treat a daughter, as this is becoming stupid. For example, the football players shave their heads before a game, which is again so fucking stupid. Sue sneaks her mother out to go find Rachel as she's grounded to her abusive stepfather by her abusive stepfather. And once again, Rachel sneaks out to see if Jesse is all right. And believe it or not, he's fine and scores a point for his high school. And Rachel gets picked up by Tracy's friend and are taken to a party. And Tracy picks up Jesse to take him to the party while Tracy tries to seduce Jesse. And Rachel gets a book about Lisa's score on sex and pisses off Rachel and sees Jesse doesn't have a score for Rachel and sees Tracy having sex with Jesse. And the line, "they're all gonna laugh at you," comes up with a questionable choice, and the door closes, and Rachel uses her telekinetic powers to trap the party and kill every single motherfucker in the room. And Sue gets killed out of the blue, and I'm just already checked out of this movie as it's one of the worst. Mark and Eric get weapons to kill Rachel off, and again we get another black and white, which is so fucking unnecessary. By the way, Rachel gets shot by a flare gun and goes in the pool and throws Eric in the pool as she gets out, but Eric drowns to death, and the mother sees the devil inside of Rachel as she runs away, and Rachel begs God for her to die. And Jesse comes by and she almost kills him until he sees a footage of Jesse saying to Rachel, "I love you," but she ends up getting up killed and tells Jesse she loves him as Jesse is forced outside while Rachel burns in hell. 1 year later, Jesse takes Walter with him with his windows open while he's doing homework and dreams about Rachel, as the climax is complete garbage. Just garbage. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.0 out of 10. This is one of the worst movies in the series, as the characters were poorly written by the writers, acted by the actors, and directed by this director. I don't like any of the characters, as their performances by the actors are just the worst in every single way, as the directing is very fucking poor. The choices being made are so bad, as the writing is the worst thing. This is one of the worst movies I've reviewed for the show, as well as Dark Phoenix, Screamers, and the Child's Play remake, as this movie is complete fucking garbage. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with the TV movie of Carrie. And until then, they're all gonna laugh at you.